So today I'm hoping to talk to you about how software communities can empower your development team, and as well as how community involvement can be crucial to professional growth, and how your employer or how, as an employer or team, you can take advantage of that. Please appreciate the CSS animation that is the opening slide, because I spent way too long on that. Sorry, Callum. But who am I and why does what I say matter? So I'm Joe Glombek. I am a 6-time Umbraco MVP. I'm an organizer of the Bristol meetup, and I'm a senior developer at Bump Digital. And I think it's fair to say that I am here today because of the community. I certainly have my current job role because of the active participation in the software community. I'm saying software community a lot. What is a software community? Well, according to the open source way, it's a group of people united by the shared purpose of developing, maintaining, extending, and promoting a specific body of open source software. What unites them is their common vision for the open source software project, as well as the spirit of camaraderie and collective identity that participating in the community affords them. But what does that look like in reality? Community involvement can involve various activities, from code contributions, online discussions, like the forum and Discord, blogging, conferences, like we are here today, and meetups. Umbraco, by the way, has this really helpful link for how to get involved in the Umbraco community, how Umbraco would like you to get involved in the Umbraco community, and it's at community.umbraco.com/get-involved. I've mentioned meetups now, but what are those? It's not, we're all aware of conferences, but not necessarily what a meetup is. So let's have a look at what meetup.com says. I'm sure they've got a good definition. The people platform where interests become friendships. There you go, doesn't that describe exactly what they do? Maybe not. So I like to describe meetups as mini conferences that are free to attend. In fact, meetups often contain the same talks as at conferences. So I've done this talk at a few meetups before I've done it here. So they really are like a mini code garden. A meetup will usually involve an element of socializing, some tech talks, news about the subject area for the meetup. So in our case, Umbraco news and all the latest features. And some refreshments, of course. So usually pizza. It's how it normally works out. And my first argument for community involvement involves using that pizza as a form of professional development. Because what happens when you get developers in a room socializing on work time and eating pizza? Well, actually, they quite often come back with solutions, shortcuts, and a sort of spark that you wouldn't get from some online training. And I'm here to show you why meetups work, and that's from my own experience, but also I've got some stats backed by research as well, so hopefully I can persuade you that this is a good thing to be doing. Now, problems can all start by working inside a closed bubble of your team. Teams operate in closed loops. They use the same code base with the same colleagues, with the same assumptions being made over and over again. And that can lead to things like reinventing the wheel. You can be slower to adopt new best practices. Technical debt can accumulate quietly without you really noticing it's happening in the background. And you're making all these decisions day in, day out without any kind of external validation, just the validation of your own team. So we need to burst that bubble. This photo was taken at a recent Bristol meetup. And this is Jonathan, and he shared a project he'd been working on recently. And I think everyone, the audience and the speaker, all took something away from this meetup. Whether it was a previously unknown Umbraco feature, tips for working with Visual Studio, or an architecture technique, or just that uninterrupted Jonathan can talk about council websites for hours on end. But that's all anecdotal. So let's look at some statistics. So this paper from Ingram and Draken in 2020 found that 80% of people who were attending tech meetups found they acquired information from a meeting that they later followed up on. 69% obtained knowledge that allowed them to make improvements to their practice. 45% obtained knowledge that solved a technical problem they already had. That's normally, as a team, you've given them a technical problem, and they've gone and got that problem solved for free. And 62% like to ask questions tailored to them. Again, tailored to the work they're doing. So this is really helpful to the team as a whole. you're online, there's a horn that goes off every few seconds, by the way. It's very distracting. So when you see me jump, that's what's happening. And another study I found said by Hemmertsberger and Reinhardt in 2006 said that, oops, that's not healthy. Don't jump around like that. Said that we found participative practice, collective reflection, and virtual experimentation processes to be explanatory with respect to knowledge building, which I would simplify as contributing to open source communities, receiving feedback, and trying new things increased knowledge. And bearing in mind I'm saying that meetups are like mini conferences, Carl Sagener, who's organizer of DDD Southwest near me, and said of Code Garden, it's an opportunity to come back with strategies that make a real difference to your team and organization. And remembering, the talks we see here, we quite often see at meetups as well. And Carl's not alone. So Joke van Ham, also talking about Code Garden. She is CEO at 3Sign and a team lead at AG Consult. She said, if you want to grow in your role, this is the place to learn, connect, and be inspired. But community is more than just a personal development opportunity. Contributing to open source can also strengthen your business. So open source isn't free. It's a shared responsibility. And I don't mean that as sort of the ethical argument people often use for contributing back to open source. I mean that you shouldn't just should contribute back to open source, but there are business cases for this as well. So, first of all, it also reduces your risk, your long-term risk, by supporting open source software. I chatted to Rich McCloskey, who is managing director at True, about this, and he put it very nicely. He said, we can't keep draining from a pool and expect it to remain full. So we have to keep refilling that reservoir before we continue draining water from it. It's not an endless supply. Another strength of a community is that its ability to support the people within that community. So a community can supply benefits to your employees. It's often a place to share your wins, your frustrations, your is it just me having this problem kind of moments. And it provides a sense of identity and belonging more than just your job title, your company name. It gives you a broader sense of identity. It can provide opportunities to teach, to mentor, or to feel valued, where that isn't necessarily possible in your company structure. And it can reduce isolation, especially in hybrid or remote teams. It's really important. And finally, it also provides a place to ask those silly questions that you might be scared or intimidated to ask amongst your colleagues, or it might affect your future job prospects or promotion prospects. And this topic also came up in my discussion with Rich. He said, developers want to be involved in the community. And that study from earlier that we looked at had similar things to say about it. It said 68% of people find talking to other technologists reassuring. 59% say it's important to feel part of the community. 57% tend to find friends with shared interests. It's very easy to forget that for a lot of developers, coding is their hobby as well, and they want to meet people who share that hobby. Those numbers actually seem quite low to me, but the paper did clarify. It said that almost every interviewee made comments about the importance of socializing, making friends, and establishing a rapport. And even if we take our compassionate hats off for a minute and forget that it's healthy to have employees who are happy, it also reflects on business. Happy employees benefit your business. You get a higher attention because people stay where they feel connected. Employees place a higher value on an employer who supports what they want to do. And as we learned from Rich earlier, the developers want to be involved in a community, then supporting them in being involved in that community makes the employee value that employer more. It's also that these benefits can also reduce the risk of burnout. Mitchell Norkia wrote a fantastic article about his experience at Umbraco Spark earlier this year, and he had this to say about burnout. Community is not a cure for burnout, but it is a reminder that your enthusiasm was never really gone. I'll provide links to all these articles at the end, by the way. so you can read the full thing. And another quote from Rich, when talking about Umbraco community training days run by the community, he said that attending creates a positive effect more than the cost of the train ticket. So if we're all agreed that being involved in a community is a useful thing, how do we encourage a team to get involved in that community if they want to? To do that, we first need to look at what might be holding a community back from joining in community activities. So it's entirely possible they don't know that they can or how to get involved in a community. Location is a huge impact as well. So whether you have to travel abroad to a conference like this, or travel to another city for a conference or meetup, or even traveling into the city that is nearest to you to attend a meetup, it can take a toll and make people not want to go. Taking time out to attend a meetup or contribute when it's a person's free time, whether they need to consider childcare or just value their free time, time is a big killer. The cost of getting to a meetup can also have an effect. Even when I'm paying my £6 bus fare, it's still a consideration that maybe I don't want to go to a meetup this week because, cash flow may not be as prominent as it has been. Some employers can also be seen to be hostile towards contributing to open source. I've heard they might get recruited if they attend a meetup argument quite a few times. I can say from experience that I don't think I know anyone who's been recruited from a meetup. Unless they're thinking of leaving anyway. I find it funny that a strong LinkedIn presence is almost encouraged by an employer, but attending a meetup, you might get recruited. Do you know where the recruiters are? They're on LinkedIn, they're not really at the meetups. But also there are contracts out there that technically forbid contributing to open source, using a non-compete clause pulled out of an American contract, and that can prohibit people from feeling like they can contribute. So how do we work around these obstacles? Well, encouraging community participation is a really good start. And by that, I mean, let your team know it's an option and how you can help them to participate. Attending events yourself is also really useful, even if you're not a developer. Attending these events shows that it's allowable, permissible, and enjoyable to the rest of the team. Offering time back or just partial time back for attending a meetup. So meetups often run quite late into the evening. If you, as their boss, can say, come in late tomorrow, have a bit of a lie-in to recover from the meetup the night before, that makes a huge amount of difference. There are also daytime meetups, so if you can allow or encourage participation in lunchtime virtual meetups, or get your local meetup, chat to your local meetup, see if they can host daytime meetups, offer to host a daytime meetup for your local group. Covering bus or train fares as expenses is also a very easy way to get people to contribute. Hosting or sponsoring a meetup, that allows, always when you host at an employer, their employees make up the majority of the audience. And then a subset of those employees will continue to attend meetups beyond that point. So hosting a meetup is a really good way to inject some community into your teams. Sending all seniorities to conferences is another big one. I've heard employers say, I don't think we can justify sending this junior developer to a conference. But how on earth are they going to improve with that attitude? Even if you're not sending all of your team to a conference, sending a variety of team members to conferences can really help. Another useful thing can be to be removing the pressure from attending events. So it's quite common to ask an employee to present what they learned at a meetup or a conference, but that can be a deterrent. Mitchell Nokia also had this to say. He said, if there is one piece of advice for businesses or managers, is don't put expectations or pressures on developers that go to events. Let them enjoy the day. Or in my boss's words, just go there and have fun. Finally, you can make open source just a part of what you do by allowing and making it clear that you allow contributing back code and for your work projects during work time. And like I said before, I had a contract for a company who technically prohibited contributing to open source. It wasn't deliberate. It was just part of a contract template. We discussed it and we removed it. And now, legally, I'm allowed to contribute to open source as well. So I asked Joe Kepley, who released a video recently, about whether I could quote him on some of these things he was saying. And then I realized that I couldn't quote it because it was all really useful. So I asked him if I can include the video here for you, and I think he has some very useful things to say. Nope, sorry. I forgot to tell them I had sound. I forgot I had sound in the video. I'm sorry. I'll check I'm also outputting sound. That would be useful, wouldn't it? Yeah, I am giving you the sound. That's good. Ready? So hopefully Joe had this to say.
Sometimes it's tough to put a number for the return on investment of conferences and in-person events. But I'm out here in Colorado today precisely because at Blend we found that for the right events, it's worth taking the time and the expense to be there in person. I work with a lot of really smart people. And a big chunk of our marketing plan is getting those smart people in front of people that want to pay us to do great work. This happens way more quickly and easily when we can all be in the same room together. You know, I think there's a lot of value in meeting up with people that do the kind of work we do and love the kind of things we love. We learn from each other, we get to know each other, and we build this sense of community that really makes people want to stick around. And maybe we even find ways to work on new things together. You know, sometimes that drink you have with somebody one night, 6 months later, turns into a contract and a job. And that's something you can't do on a Zoom call. In a world where everything is moved online, you know, I think that personal connection means even more than it used to. So don't overlook getting together in person. Get out there, you know, get your people out there. Share, speak, meet new people. So I think the ROI on meeting in person isn't always a line item, it's relationships. And despite everything else that's changing in the world, relationships are still how business works. Have a good one.
I'm sorry for making you sit through a 20-minute talk to just summarize it in 2 minutes, but I felt it was a really valuable addition. All the links from the presentation that I showed you, all the studies, all the blog posts, they're available at joe.gl/ombec/links/devs-assemble. If you have any questions about how to get your team more involved or how to encourage your boss to let you get more involved, come chat to me afterwards. We haven't got enough time now, but I'll be around. I'm very happy to talk about this sort of thing. Thank you very much.